Have you heard that the brain clears out toxins during sleep? And if that clearance is impaired, we are at higher risk of Alzheimer's disease? If you have been worried about this, I have incredible news for you. We have seen in numerous Heard Online episodes that there is no backing of these claims, but for the first time, we have a study that directly challenges this mainstream idea. Super glad you're here. Let's jump into this episode. Hi, and welcome to Heard Online, or welcome back to Heard Online, I should say. It's been a while since I did one of these episodes, but I'm super excited about this one. And before we look at the study, I want to thank Anna, who was an episode, who was a guest, I should say, in Talking Insomnia number 130, who sent me this article that we're going to look at. And thanks so much, Anna. This means a lot. And also, I want to say that I love making these episodes Heard Online, Insomnia Insight, minding the comments. I just haven't had time lately because I've done much more administrative work, with the growth of the immunity program, with BedTyme and everything. But at some point soon, I hope to either have kind of streamlined everything or hired somebody who can help me with this so I can get back to making more content. But anyway, that was just a little parenthesis. So yes, let's take a look at this. So Anna sent me a link to this study from The Guardian. And as you can see, the title is "Sleep Does Not Help a Brain Wash Out Toxins, Study Suggests." And when I saw that, I was immediately excited because I knew where this was going. And we will take a close look at this article. We'll read part of it together, and then I have some reflections as well. But before we do that, in our typical fashion, I also want to show you like the actual study that this article in The Guardian is referring to, and it is this one. The title of the scientific study is "Brain Clearance is Reduced During Sleep and Anesthesia," and it's published in Nature Neuroscience, which is a very highly respected publication. And other than that, I will say that the abstract is pretty clear, and it is like the overall, like the design of the study, I think is quite clear. So basically, they're injecting like a dye, fluorescent dye that can be tracked into these mice. It gets into like the brain of these mice, and then they check like how this is cleared out from the brain during sleep, anesthesia, and wakefulness, and then they compare like how fast it is cleared during those three states. Now, the only maybe like little criticism I have is like it was just very hard for me to understand like how many mice were involved. One N, which is the N, like when you say N equals in a study, that typically refers to like how many subjects were there. I saw one N of equals 15 and one N equals 52, which I don't know if were there 15 mice and they did 52 experiments in part of this. Like, I don't really know. I'll say that it is a smaller study. It's not like they had thousands of mice, but it's definitely enough that it made it into this publication, very well respected publication. I think there's tons of value in the study. So with that said, let us actually go back to the article from The Guardian and read it together. Here it is. And the title we already talked about, and then we can go down to the actual body of the article, which says it said the following: "The restorative effect of a good night's rest is widely recognized, and the popular scientific explanation has been that the brain washes out toxins during sleep." And I agree with this. This has become a mainstream idea that when we use our brain, there's kind of these waste products accumulating in our brain, and if that's not cleared out, then we don't feel well, we feel foggy, groggy, and more importantly, it's been suggested that this increases our risk of Alzheimer's disease, which has so many in our community worried, right? So let's keep reading. However, new findings suggest that this theory, which has become a dominant view in neuroscience, could be wrong. The study found that the clearance of movement and fluid in the brains of mice was in fact markedly reduced during sleep anesthesia. Not only did they find that there was no difference between like the reduction of these substances or the clearance of these substances in wakefulness versus sleep. In fact, this clearance was faster, more efficient during wakefulness during sleep. So it completely negates what has been shown before. Now, let's hear some quotes from one of the authors. It sounded like a Nobel Prize winning idea, said Professor Franks, a professor of biophysics and anesthetics at Imperial College of London and co-lead of the study. If you're sleep deprived, countless things go wrong. You don't remember things clearly. Hand-eye coordination is poor. He added, the idea that your brain is doing this basic housekeeping during sleep just seems to make sense. It's a very kind of like when he says that it's kind of, I think, maybe not here, but some other part of this article, he said that this is an attractive idea. It's attractive because it's very simple. We can just imagine that the brain is doing all this work. There are kind of toxins or waste products accumulating. If you don't sleep well, there are more of them in our brain, and then we don't feel as well. It's kind of like it seems to intuitively make a lot of sense. So that's what he says here, right? Seems to make a lot of sense. However, he says there was only indirect evidence that the brain's waste removal system ramps up activity during sleep, Frank said. So there was no actual kind of proof there, right? Going on, we read the following. In the latest study published in the journal Nature Neuroscience, researchers used a fluorescent dye to study the brains of mice. This allowed them to see how quickly the dye was removed from fluid-filled cavities called ventricles in the brain to other brain regions and enable them to measure the rate of clearance of the dye from the brain directly. So here they're directly measuring this process, right? The study showed that the clearance of the dye was reduced by about 30% in sleeping mice, right? Not increased, reduced, and 50% it was reduced even further under anesthesia compared with the mice that were kept awake. And then Frank says, this field has been so focused on the clearance idea as one of the key reasons why we sleep. And we were, of course, very surprised to observe the opposite in our results, said Franks. We found that the rate of clearance of dye from the brain was significantly reduced. Now, there was one more thing I really wanted to read to you. And this is one. It's also from the same author, Dr. Franks, because the idea, the one we talked about, the idea that toxins are cleared from the brain during sleep, and that this is an important function of sleep, because that idea has held such sway, it's probably increased people's anxiety that if they don't sleep, they'll be more likely to develop dementia, said Dr. Franks. I think this was incredibly nice to hear, because here's a professor, a researcher, who's not only thinking about like where to publish, getting attention, getting cited and career advancement or whatnot, but somebody who thinks about how is the people we are serving, which is like greater humanity, how are they going to think about these findings? How is it going to make them feel? How is it going to affect their quality of life? And so I think that was incredibly valuable. I think so few people do that. So that was super nice. Now, apart from kind of what I hope is very obvious here, that like reading this article and hearing about this study reduces your worry if you had worries about this. I also want to take the opportunity to reflect a little bit upon this. So one reflection is this, which kind of like is a more like philosophical way of questioning this idea that clearance would be reduced in sleep. And is if you look at other organs like the kidney, which clears waste products from blood, and the liver, which similarly kind of detoxifies, or the lymphatic system, which is like the transportation of the many waste products in our body. All of them function well during sleep and wakefulness. Why would the lymphatic system, if there truly is such a thing like as a lymphatic system, why would that be any different, right? Why would that be different? That doesn't make any sense. That we would be somehow put at risk if we didn't sleep enough, right? That doesn't make any sense from a kind of evolutionary standpoint, right? And from just a body functional standpoint. And the other reflection I want to make was this one, that maybe I'm biased, maybe it's kind of wishful thinking on my end, but I have the sense, like feeling that the tide is turning. And what I mean by that is that if you go back like maybe 4 years or so, then Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, was like, it had made a huge splash, right? And in the wake of that, there was, I think, a lot of money poured into sleep research, which led other researchers to find things and report them, and the whole idea that sleep was essential to health, it seemed to really be at sort of a peak like a few years ago. Since then, we've had Alexei Guzey, who wrote that amazing essay where he challenged, he kind of reviewed the first. I'm using my phone to record, and it does those things. So Alexei Guzey reviewed the first chapter of Matthew Walker's book and found it to have a lot of problems, a lot of misleading statements and incorrect many errors in it. I also recently checked like Matthew Walker's Wikipedia, where it there's a whole section in that where it talks about like controversies about his ideas. And I think it feels to me that this idea that sleep is crucial for health is sort of fading. We don't hear that as much reported as much as mainstream. And now we have the opposite. We have articles like the one we looked at, which are questioning these ideas that were so prevalent just a few years ago. And I think this is wonderful. Yeah, I think this is really, really nice. And we say, when I say that this is wonderful, like I know a lot of in the community are struggling with insomnia and are thinking like, something like, how can you say this is wonderful, Daniel? Like, don't we need, more looking into like sleep struggles and how to meet that in a different way? That I totally agree with that. That there's a lot of work to be done in terms of like helping people sleep well and leave insomnia struggles. But the shift of focus from like trying to suggest that little sleep causes all these health issues, like the shift away from that, I think is immensely helpful, because none of us sleep well if we think that not sleeping well will have an impact on our health. So again, I think this is super wonderful. I want to again thank Anna for sending us this Heard Online suggestion, and I hope it brought a lot of value to you. Let's conclude there. Look forward to seeing you real soon. Bye for now. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Remember, your brain is not broken. You have not lost your ability to sleep, and you have a lifetime of peaceful sleep to look forward to. And I can't wait to help you get there. Bye for now.